What's going on? Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday. Am I hungover? I'm actually I don't drink, but I'm very tired. I flew in last night at very very late. So if I look a little hungover, I'm not actually hungover. I'm just tired. But I'm here. I'm tired and I'm here. And a lot of trading is about that, right? Even if you don't go crazy on a Monday morning and take a million trades, you still have to show up, even when things are not prime, right? And it doesn't mean you go crazy. It just means you are collecting data, right? And that's a lot about what trading is. So welcome in everybody. Hope everybody is well rested. Hopefully people are better rested than me today. But we have a lot to go over today, a lot to go over this week because we have a lot of major tech earnings. It's your hair. It's usually impeccable. Yeah, no, today my hair it's a little bit all over the place. But good morning, guys. Hope everybody is doing really well. Happy Monday. Gotta get my morning coffee in. Yes. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Well, we have a lot to go over. Huge earnings this week. It's going to be a big focus of our morning session is going to be on our major tech earnings, and that's what we're going to be focusing on, right? So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking a lot about our economic data, right? Big data going on towards the beginning of May, right? Even just all week has been it's big economic data, right? You have GDP, you have PMI, we have employment situation data. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about earnings reports. We're also going to discuss we're also going to discuss some major moves on Thursday and Friday session. We'll talk about SPY's chart. We'll go over SPY. We'll go over what's going on here on the overall market. We'll talk about the major reclaim of 550 on SPY. We're also going to go to ES's chart. We'll talk about ES, and we're going to go over the major level on ES, which is simply that 55.60, that overnight high from Friday session. We're also going to go over the demand below here, 5,500. We'll talk about that on the Qs. We're going to go over the same 468 level. This is a major downtrend break here on the QQQs. On the QQQ, we're also going to talk about the SMH, the overall chip sector, what's going on here with chips. Chips showing strength, chips showing some resiliency on Friday session. This resiliency was what we spoke about on Friday pre-market, and it's beginning to happen. What's beginning to happen here on the overall chip sector? What's happening is you have some rotations into chips. So that's what we'll be talking about today's session is the rotations into chips. The first chip being Nvidia. We'll talk about Nvidia. We'll go over the major reclaim of that 106 level, 106, 107. We'll go over AMD. AMD sitting at major technical supply. We'll go over that. We'll talk about Tesla sitting at the daily 200 SMA. We'll talk about Apple sitting at 210. A lot of major things happening this morning, and we must talk about everything in as short amount of time as possible. Anyway, we have 800, 900 people here in the morning, and we have 200 likes. I'm going to ask it now. Let's get the likes up to as much as we can. If I get to 500, that'd be awesome. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to dive right into our economic data, and we'll go into earnings reports after that. We'll discuss everything in as short amount of time as possible. Okay. So Monday session. Obviously, today is Monday, April 28th. In the morning session today, you have Domino's Pizza, MGM, smaller stuff happening, right? Waste management after hours today. Nothing crazy today in terms of earnings. Things begin to pick up tomorrow session. Tomorrow session, we have SoFi Financial. We have PayPal, right? Some more financials. We have JetBlue pre-market, UPS pre-market, Coca-Cola pre-market, and Pfizer pre-market, and Spotify pre-market. So some big names reporting in the pre-market session tomorrow to kick off the week. Now, in the after hours, things become even more important. You have Visa, Starbucks, Snapchat. And then Wednesday session, you have Microsoft, Meta, Robinhood, QCOM. This is the biggest day to start the week. And then Thursday, Amazon, Apple. So it is a very Amazon, Apple, and then also McDonald's on that pre-market session Thursday. So we're gonna come back to this calendar multiple times throughout this week. I just wanted to pinpoint the big ones off the gate. But obviously, we will be referring back to this as we progress throughout our week ahead of us. So again, we have Meta, Robinhood, QCOM, Amazon, Apple, big names coming in this session ahead of us. On the economic data, on the docket for today's session, the good news is we have nothing to talk about. There is no economic data of importance. Let's move on, right? Well, Tuesday, things become important. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday, but just be aware that there is some retail sales, some international trader goods coming in 8:30. But what I want to do today is I want to spend as as much time as possible on our charts today because it's Monday, because we need to sort of update ourselves and update our charts going into the week ahead of us. So let's do that. Is everybody ready? How many people we have? We have 1,200 or 1,100 people here in the pre-market. It is 8:40 a.m. We're a minute early today. Is everybody awake? Is everybody awake? Is everybody more awake than me today? Put a yes in the chat. Are you guys ready? I feel like it's quiet in the chat today. It's very quiet in the chat. Where is everybody? Some people are saying no. Express is saying no. All right, let's go. Let's roll. Okay, so SPY. Okay, on the SPY chart, pretty much what happened. What has happened? What has happened recently has been this. We've been sort of respecting our major supply above and respecting our major demand below, and we've stayed in trend and in consolidation for several weeks in a row. We moved from 496 demand to 550 supply, and so far we on Friday session have technically broken above that supply, right? If you look at the channel high is 549,550, and we are breaking above it on Friday, and we were actually still above it in the pre-market session this morning. This is a really important flip going into our earnings season. Why is it an important flip? Because in the 1 hour time frame, we've fully broken above and closed above a major technical supply. This is the supply we said, hey, we don't want to be long into, right? This is the major level. It's 550. If we break above 550, we should see upside. And what are we seeing in the pre-market? We're at 550.17. We are above the pre-market high. We are above the major 549 level. And you can see here, in theory, if we do break above this high over here in these series of highs from Friday session, from Thursday and Friday session, we should see a move back into 560 and back into 571. That's what we should see if the market does continue to maintain above that Friday high. Today's session, Fancy, thank you very much, Fancy. Much appreciated. You are always a big supporter, Fancy. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Okay. 550 on SPY is the key pivot. If we are holding above 550 on SPY, we have bullish sentiment. Okay, we likely move back into 561. And the reason why I say that, the reason why I'm saying we move back into 561 is because if you zoom into this chart over here, right, and you look at sort of what has happened previously, when we do hold 550, we do see 561 almost every single time. 550, 561, 550, 561. 550 breakdown, massive downside. So we're still back at that same supply now, but we are showing signs of holding above it. And where do we see that? Where do we see those signs of us holding above 550? On the 5-minute time frame, if you zoom into the 5-minute time frame, we are seeing it, right? We're seeing some retention coming in the pre-market session, especially the pre-market session. You're seeing what? You're seeing highs built on Thursday at 550. You have a breakout level from Friday at 550. In a pre-market session, we have a pre-market low forming somewhere around that 550. This is a technical hold above our major level of supply. And if the market does continue to hold our pre-market level here, we should see us grind higher back into 560s. The important thing here is this is all true, okay? But the issue still is earnings. If earnings flip us, right, and we see a flip back under our Friday level, our Friday breakout level back under 549, then I think we see this today. So what I would be trading today's session is I would say this: understand we are at a major level here in SPY, as we are most days. This is a major breakout level. If we are holding above this breakout level, we should see some more upside in the market, right? Back into our 560 area. And what you would look for today is you probably would look for a break and hold above our Friday's highs. Friday's highs is 551. So even though I'm saying we are bullish in the market, we can't just come in now and say, I want to buy calls right here. Because where you want to buy calls is going to be a break and hold above 551, which is our Friday high. If you break above our intraday Friday high, we should see a trend day higher back into the lower 560s. If the market fails back under our Friday level, our pre-market low, our Friday breakout level, I would say somewhere ballpark of 548. Really 548 is that breakdown level. Under 548, that's where you see downside, and that's where the market flips back into 545. But even if the market does that, even if the market does this, this is so important, even if the market fails back under 548, it's not bearish, right? It's not bearish. Sure, it's scalpable for puts, right? It's scalpable for puts, but it's still another long opportunity for demand. So if I'm trading SPY today, I'm doing exactly this. I'm saying, let's do this. Let's look for longs above the 551 for a Friday high breakout trade. That's a very important level from last week's sessions to last week high. It's also Friday's highs. Or let's look for a breakdown under 548 for puts, and you can look at that little aggressive move down into our Friday low, which is again simply just 544, 545, and that would be a technical demand that we can look for longs off of. So that's how I would trade SPY today. I simply would look for longs over the 551 because we're bullish, market's holding strong this morning. Or I would look for a failure if the market does flip back under our pre-market low, back under our breakout level from Friday session, which is 548, and that would give us a downside move back into 545. The levels this morning are very clear on SPY. Something that's super important about the way we trade on Mondays. I'm going to give you a little tidbit. I'll give you tidbits here now. Mondays are about simply watching and waiting. The reason why Mondays are about watching, now granted, execution is important too, and you do want to execute on Mondays as well, but Monday sets the tone for the entire week. We want to see how the market is going to respond to our previous week's levels. If the market starts to fail back under our 548 level, it's giving us a sign of, oh, maybe is there a little bit of bearish momentum starting this week, in which case we can look for some downside moves. But if the market just rips above 551 off the get-go, then we can say, well, okay, we're probably entering a little bit of a strong week ahead of us. So Monday is about collecting data, watching the market. That's why I'm sitting here completely unbiased, ready to see what the market does, and I'll take notes of it as the market is doing it in real time. So these are the levels: 551 supply, 548 demand. If you break 551, upside. If you lose 548, downside, but only back into 545, because that still is a technical demand below. I want to say your name properly. XG Productions, thank you very much. That is also very kind of you. Very, very nice. You did not have to do that, but that is very, very nice. XG, thank you so much. Very nice. Okay. So on the ES chart, it's obviously a very, very similar picture, right? If the market is holding strong, which it is this morning, you're seeing what? Why is this bullish this morning? What is bullish about this morning just off the gate is the fact that look at this high right here. If there's one thing to look at this morning, it's this little high right there. It's 5530. You see it over here, you see it over here, you see it right now. If we are holding above 5530, the market is in technical bullish formation. Why? Because this is that major failure point before in the 1 hour time frame, right? All in the 1 hour time frame. You have a little flag play, little flag play, little flag play. We broke down this little flag, whatever the heck you want to call it, right? And we saw some crazy downside come in. Now this morning, we are back in that same supply zone, but we are beginning to hold above that supply. And that's a really important flip in the market. If the market's above that 5530, I would expect more upside to come in. If we lose 5530, that's your bear flip, and you can look for a downside move back into 5500 and below that back into 5400 ES. So some big levels here. But what I want to do is I want to do the same thing we did on SPY. I want to go back into that 5 minute time frame and I want you to see what's happening here pre-market. What's happening here pre-market is you see us holding and maintaining. This is not a surprise. Look at what's going on here. We have a triple bottom in the pre-market off the same level on the 1 hour time frame. If we are holding 5530, we are still in bullish formation and probably see more upside in the market. But what you want to do though is, even though that is the case, you probably want to do this today. You want to either be looking for some sneaky longs off demand here, or you want to be looking for a long side entry above the 5560, which again is that Friday highs. If we can break Friday's highs, that's where we get some more free-flowing upside back into the next resistance. The question becomes, what is the next resistance here in the ES chart? On the ES chart, the next resistance, just like SPY, is this high over here, right? This, first of all, this low, right before that crazy breakdown, 5700 ES, but also these highs over here, 5760. The way the market tends to work is when you see a crazy downside move like this and we start breaking above that level of supply, we should see an equal and opposite upside move, right? Equal and opposite moves tend to be how the market operates. The market still is not fully above the supply zone. You can see on ES's chart, what would kind of get us above that supply zone would be a break and hold above the 5560. If we can break above 5560, that's where you get a free flowing move and a move back into 5700 ES. So trading on the ES chart today, you're simply doing this. You're saying if we are above the 5530, look for longs. If you're above 5560, look for a long entry, break and retest long entry above our Friday's highs. If you want to be bearish, you're probably waiting for a flip in the market, and a flip in the market would be a break under 5,500 ES. This would be your downside move. This would be your free-flowing downside move, and that's where I think the market gets a bit slippery. We move back down to this green band over here. Okay, so that is the SPY chart. That is the ES chart. That is what we have. And 1,300 people here this morning. I think we just hit a record, almost 1,400 people. This is a record here in the morning for us, so that's awesome. This is really good. I love that you guys are all here. Even if you don't agree with my levels, I am happy that people are here and they're showing up. I mean, that's what matters to me more than anything. On the Qs chart, on the QQQ, this is what we're watching here in the Qs. This is so important. This is more important than a SPY chart, more important than any ES chart. Look how beautiful this is here on the Qs. You have on a daily time frame. Let's just take a second. It's Monday, it's early, we have plenty of time to go over these things. On the Qs chart, look at this breakdown of downtrend here. This is a very important flip. I am not saying we're going back to all-time highs here. I'm not saying it's going to happen in one day, but I am saying if we begin to hold above this trend, which we are in the pre-market, which we are in the daily timer, which we are since Thursday of last week, which we spoke about on Thursday. We also spoke about this downtrend. We spoke about this downtrend on Thursday last week, is still showing strength after we are breaking downtrend. The question becomes, where does this move? Where do we move back into here in the Qs? Argue without question, right? Look at this for a second. You can see the high. First of all, the lows over here 468. The lows here 468. The lows, the high of that red candle here 468. The high, this green candle 468, right? Again, why is this so important? Because this was the bear flag breakdown, right? This is the bear flag breakdown. We have now fully formed above that bear flag breakdown. That's an important flip for me, right? We broke above these series of lows here. These series of lows are turning into an area of support. This is the most important level today, the most important level this week, I think. The reason why is because if we can continue to turn these 468 lows back into support here on the daily time frame, again, what that would look like is it would be like this. If we can form, and this, like you are seeing this, right? You see like one green candle, two green candle, three green candle, four green candles in a row. Even if the market does pull back today on a Monday, Tuesday session, the market pulls back and we form a little red candle like this. I know it's not the prettiest of candles here, but let's just say this were a candle, okay? Let's just say, we're just going to be crazy right now. We're going to draw this as a nice candle just so you can see it. Even if the market does form a candle like this, right? This is our green candle from Friday session, right? Friday session green candle. Even if the market pulls back today and forms a low here at 468, that is still bullish for the market. Why? And that would actually be better because if we can form a little bit of a pin bar here at 468 and then flip that pin bar green back in Tuesday, Wednesday session, that would be the best case scenario. Why would that be the best case scenario? Because this would be what? This would be a break and retest of our 468 level here in the Qs. I know I'm drawing horribly right now. It's not about the drawings here. It's about the levels. If we can turn this 468 into a level of support today's session or Tuesday session, that's the most bullish case scenario, and we likely see this happen. I'll draw it out for you guys now, and we'll come back to this drawing on Wednesday, right? This is the level. You can see a high formed here, highs formed here, highs formed here. We broke above it on Friday session. If we can pull back to this on Monday session, Tuesday session, and form it as a support, this is bullish for an upside move back into 485. That is what I would expect in the market. If we do lose this 468 level, right? I want to get rid of my drawing here because this is just awful now. Now it's just embarrassing. Let's pretend I didn't draw that. But if we lose this 468 level, then market shifts and we no longer have bullish momentum. So as of right now, and I'll make this more transparent so we can see it properly. As of right now, if we are above this 468 level, then we are looking for longs back into 485. If we lose 468, that's your bearish flip, and we can look for downside momentum back into where? Back into 462, back into 453. So that's what I'm looking for today on the Qs. I will be saying this. I will be looking for a pullback long on the Qs. That's why I'm saying even if SPY pulls back today, it's not necessarily bearish, right? As long as we pull back and start to form demand at these lows. That's what you'd be looking for. Do we form demand at these lows today? Okay, so watching 468 as a pullback long. Back to SPY for a second. I know I want to take a quick detour back to SPY. If SPY does pull back, you're looking for bounces here, 440, 545, or you're looking for a break and hold here, 581. If you're looking for shorts, it's only on a sneaky short back below 548. That is a SPY. That's the ES. That is a QQQ. I am done with ETFs now. I hope you guys have taken notes or have taken notes of these levels. Okay. Trent, that is awesome. Thank you so much, Trent. Absolutely. Yep. We'll take a look at Delta. Also, interestingly enough, Trent, there's JetBlue reporting earnings this week, so I think you'll see some movement on airlines. So we'll take a look at Delta as well. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to move on to our individual tickers now. We're going to start off with the first ticker of the day is going to be Nvidia. So Nvidia was a really good trade last week that we had taken on live. If you guys remember, we long Nvidia somewhere ballpark. I'll show you where we went long on Nvidia. We did not have it on the pre-market session on Friday. We spoke about going long in Nvidia here at 106. I did not go long here at 106. I wish I did. This was the best possible entry. I actually went long over here on the pullback back into our 106 level. This is why levels are so important, right? You may miss that first opening bell opportunity, right? Because you may be sitting there looking for extra confirmation. Maybe you didn't execute the trade properly, or maybe you just hesitated completely, right? But the market usually will give you another entry, and that's the thing is like if you said, you know what, I want to buy longs, and you missed the entry, so you bought longs over here, right into the high of that 935 candle, and you just bought it all the way above your demand zone. You probably got stopped out back into demand, right? And I would rather miss the trade completely than I would just chase the trade back into a resistance, back way above my level of demand. And that was a really important lesson on Friday session. I saw many people chasing Nvidia, and then our entry in Nvidia was far better. Our entry, we waited for a nice little pullback in the market. We were traced back to our demand. We built size here at 107. We got the nice upside back into highs on 0DD. And the trade ended up going almost, I think, probably to close, probably 200%. I have no idea. I sold way before that. I sold into like this candle over here and walked away. But this was a really nice trade on Friday session. Now going into today's session, right? More importantly, what's actionable for today's session is go to the 1 hour time frame now. Okay, on the 1 hour time frame, you are seeing now a flip on the Nvidia chart. Remember, we spoke about this on Friday session. On Friday session, we said, hey, Nvidia and AMD and other chips in general are going to be a focal point for us. Why? Because SMH was breaking out a downtrend, and we thought that the SMH may carry some of these other chip names higher. That's what happened on Friday. Now, going into our session today, I think it's still the same idea, right? The same idea is still valid. But what I'd watch out for today's session is I would watch to see if we can form a swing low here around 106. If we can form a swing low here at 106, I'm going to look for a long entry off the 106 demand. Why? Because Nvidia moves in ebbs and flows. You have an ebb, you have a flow, you have an ebb, you have a flow, and I'm looking for an entry at the flow. Okay, that's what I'm looking for today here on the Nvidia chart. Is I'm looking for some sort of pullback long here, 106. That's my top watch on Nvidia for today's session. If it does hold 110, if we just begin to hold 110 here because you can argue, right? You can make this argument to me right now, and this is where things become a little bit. This is where I will show you guys the levels, right? And you may say this, Brett, you have a level here at 110. Why are you not talking about 110? It's because some levels I don't plan to trade off of yet, right? I'm just not quite sure if I want to be aggressive on this. If you analyze this chart here on a smaller time frame, let's just say the 15-minute time frame, you can see what's going on here, right? You can see technically you have an ebb of a flow. You have an ebb, you have a flow, and you have an ebb. And technically you could say that this is a flow already here into 110 on NVIDIA's chart. So if NVIDIA does reclaim 110 here, that is another long entry, and we probably don't even test 106. We just go back to 115. So if you are an aggressive trader today, even if you're not an aggressive trader today, simply watch and see how we respond to 110 today in NVIDIA. If NVIDIA reclaims 110 with volume, with strong candle closure, right? This could be a really nice long opportunity back in 115. If it gives you a flimsy rejection, let's just say you start to reject here off the 110 level. We start rejecting here at 110 off the pre-market level. Don't go long yet because we probably pull back to 106 and that's our long entry. So if you're watching for longs, which is only what I'm doing here in the video, I'm only watching for long side. I'm watching to see if we can hold above 110 for longs back at 115. Or I'm watching for a nice pullback long here, 106, which would be a really nice area for demand to step in. Again, it's that Friday level. It's that Thursday high. This is a nice area we can look for long entries today here on Nvidia. If you are a fib trader, I'm just kind of curious, to be honest, right? Sometimes I'll look to see how other people are thinking about charts the same from a technical standpoint, right? If you're a fib trader, you're watching somewhere around 106.2. So 106 is a nice area to watch for longs. It's at 38.2% retracement. It's also that Thursday high, the Friday level from the low session pre-market. So we're going to keep an eye off that 106 today as well. Okay, so pretty simple chart there. On the AMD chart, AMD is completely different. The reason why AMD is completely different is because AMD is still under major resistance here. AMD is under 98. This is the bear flag lows. If you go to the 1 hour time frame, right, this is so important. Look at this chart in front of us. You can see we have a bear flag. We have, again, still a bear flag here. The bear flag has paid off several times in AMD. Almost every time we tap into 98, we see some failures come in. 98 failure, 98 failure, 98 failure, 94 failure. And now this morning in the pre-market session, red alert, we're at 96. This is a dangerous area here in AMD. You do not want to be long into 98 here. What I would look for, the only way I would be long on this chart is simply if we do this. If we can break and hold above 98. If we can break and hold above 98, that's where I think we get some free-flowing upside and then move back into 102. This is a nice breakout level. The reason why I say this is because if we do break above 98, I think we see an equal and opposite move back into these Friday lows, which is that 104, 102 area. So 102 first and then 104. Kind of similar to SPY. Remember we said SPY above that 550, we have an equal and opposite move back into that little crazy downside from Wednesday, April 2nd, right? Well, I think that's where we move back into. If we do break above 98, that's where we should trend back into that 102 level. But that doesn't mean we want to go crazy 9:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm all in AMD. I'm all in, right? Brett said, oh my, we're going to see an equal and opposite move back into 102. I'm not saying that, right? I am not saying that yet. What I am saying is this is still a bear flag. This is still resistance here in AMD. If we're going to see any upside here in AMD, we should look for an upside move above 98, right? 98 is resistance. If we can clear that, look for longs back in 102. If the market flips weak, AMD is probably going to be one of the best names to go short on. So I know I'm kind of flip-flopping between long ideas and short ideas, but if AMD does flip weak, the bear flag is going to be a really nice trade to watch out for. I know it's still strong. I know the market's strong and the SMH is still strong, so I don't love this yet. But if the market does flip weak, watch for a breakdown trade under 94. If we lose 94, we could lose that Wednesday high, that Friday level, right? I think we could see a downside move back into 90. So if you're trading AMD, what I'm doing is I'm looking for a break and hold above 98 for longs back in 102. Or if the market flip-flops today and we go into a downside spiral off the gate, right, look for a move under 94, because at that point, I think we have a clear and free-flowing move back into 89.5, which is our Wednesday's lows of last week, actually. So this would be a really nice trade back under 94. Okay, so very simple chart here on the AMD. On the Avgo chart, Avgo daily 200 SMA, do you guys see what happened on Friday? I mean, look how beautiful this was. Remember we said Avgo, do not go long Avgo as long as it's under 98. Now look at what's happened. I'm still in AMD. As long as we're under 186.5. Avgo is now above 186.5. It's above that daily 200 SMA. It broke above the bear flag level, right? So at this point, what I'd watch out for is I'd look to see if Avgo is holding that 186.5, we can look for longs back into, my camera's going crazy again. We're still having camera issues. That is pretty wild. Anyway, charts matter. Charts matter. We'll focus on charts today. Unfortunately, can't control the logistics here behind these cameras. Sometimes they go crazy. I think it should be fine now, though. I think it's fine. I just reset it. It should be good. Let's go. So, 186.5. 186.5 is the level. If we're holding 186.5, look for longs back into 200. On the SMH chart, what I'd watch here in the SMH is I'd watch to see 205. If we're above 205, we're holding downtrend. So continue to look for longs as long as we're above 205. Where do we move back into in the SMH? Back into 218 is the next level. Okay. Apple chart. On the Apple chart, we're still going in and out in this camera. We are still going in and out. So unfortunately, can't Can't change that, but we're just going to continue playing as if it's still working. Okay. Apple 210. Be careful. 210 is still a big technical supply. I would look to see if we're holding above 210, we should be fine, right? So 210 is your major level. Above 210, we can look for longs back into 220. So if you're watching Apple today, look for this. Look for a break and hold above 220 for a long entry, for a move up 210 for a long entry back into 220. Pretty simple chart here in Apple, but the reason why I'm saying be careful 210 is because 210 major rejection spot, 210 major rejection spot, 210 major rejection spot. So watch 210 as technical resistance. It is still resistance going into our morning session. Okay. So don't be long at 210 yet. If you're looking for pullbacks, look for 200. If you're looking for longs, look for a move above 210. But again, this is still supply. Remember I said something on Friday session. I said I would not trade Apple unless it's either at 210 supply or 200 demand. So if you're trading Apple, look to see what it does here at 200. If it fails off 200, look for a move back into If it fails 210, look for a move back into 200. If it can break and hold above 210, look for longs back into highs here at 220. There is a very beautiful flag though. You can see it. I can see a flag and a potential uptrend here. So I'd watch to see if we can maintain that flag, right? If we can maintain that flag, that's where I think things become interesting. It's gonna make a big move. I just don't know where it's gonna be, right? Either we'll see that crazy downside 210 back into 200, or we can look for that move above that 210 back into 220. Okay. Let's move on, guys. I want to go over as many tickers as I possibly can. PLTR, watch 104. Watch the 104 level. You also have a level here of 110 now. So watch the 110, watch the 104. If we can set up a pullback long today, I'd say that the first pullback long level is 110 for a bounce. The second pullback long is going to come in at 104. Those are the two areas I'd watch for on the PLTR chart. Okay, let's go over Delta, DAL. A little bit of airline action. On the DAL chart, you have a level here 35. You have a low here of last week 40.7 and change. You have a very tight consolidation here, right? This is a really wound up chart, right? It's really wound up between 43 and 41. What I'd look for is if this can clear above this Friday, really last week level, Wednesday's highs around 44. Above 44, you should see upside back into 45.50. But there's really not much juice here, right? This chart's very consolidated, very choppy. On a larger time frame, I think things become more interesting, right? On a larger time frame, you can see that all you're doing is, if you're trading on a larger time frame, you're just doing this. You're just longing demand. You're either longing demand here at this 32 area, 33 area, or you're shorting supply here at this 67 area, 68 area. So watch the channel low, watch the channel high. Okay. Robinhood. On the Robinhood chart, watch 50, right? 50 is your level here in Robinhood. You have a major downtrend break here on 50. If this, obviously, even above 40 was a downtrend break. We maintain a daily 200 SMA. We are above 40. Look for a move above 50. If it can clear 50, look for a move back into 55, 54, right? That's your next big trade, is going to be a break and hold above 50, right? That's what you're watching to see if this 50 can turn into support. If 50 can turn into support, that's your new long entry for a move back into 54. Okay, guys, I'm going to end it on Amazon. This is the last ticker of the day. Amazon chart, Amazon 190, major level. If it can clear 190, upside back into 200, right? Pretty simple chart here. You have a nice hold here at 180. 180 held. That's where we went long on Thursday session. Ripped off of 180, back into 190. We formed a high here at 190. It's consolidating now. If it can clear 190, look for a move back into 194.50 and then possibly even 200. Okay, so that's the chart here on the Amazon chart. But again, you want to respect the supply above us. Supply above us is 190, as you can see right in front of us. Guys, thank you all for joining in. It's Monday morning. Today is going to be about collecting data. This week is heavy on the earnings side. It's heavy on the economic side. Let's trade safe. Let's trade smart. And I'll see you guys all for live trading. Bye, guys.